The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Aliens had arrived. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer came on a Tuesday morning in April. Han sat in the meeting room, her hands folded neatly on the table. As Korea's top diplomat, she had been chosen to represent Earth in this historic moment. She was known for her calm mind and careful thinking. While others talked too much when nervous, Han listened. She always had. "They're called the Vox," said General Park, pointing to the screen showing the alien ship that now orbited Earth. "They want to meet with us." "With you, Han." Han nodded once. She did not need many words to show she understood. The room around her buzzed with activity. Scientists checked equipment. Security teams reviewed plans. Politicians argued about what to say first. Through it all, Han remained still, taking in every detail. "You should know," said Dr. Kim, the xenolinguist, "the Vox communicate differently than us. They speak through multiple channels at once. They use sounds, colors from their skin, and body movements all together. They never stop talking." Han smiled slightly. "Then they will find humans very strange." 3 days later, Han stood in the special meeting dome built just for this moment. The air felt cool against her skin. She wore a simple blue suit, her black hair tied back neatly. The door across the room opened with a soft hiss. 3 Vox entered. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with smooth purple skin that rippled with colors. Each had 4 arms and large, round eyes that blinked sideways. But most striking was the noise. They clicked, hummed, and whistled all at once. Their skin flashed patterns while their 4 arms moved in complex gestures. Ambassador Trill, the lead Vox, stepped forward. Thanks to translation devices, his main voice came through clearly. "We greet Earth with the full spectrum of Vox communication," he said, while his skin pulsed with yellow light. "We are pleased to make contact with your world." Han bowed slightly. "Earth welcomes the Vox. I am Han, chosen to speak for humanity." The aliens looked at each other, their colors shifting to deep blue. They made quick chirping sounds that the translators didn't catch. "Just you?" asked Trill. "One voice only." "How?" "Limited." Han noticed the tone. She had spent years reading people who tried to hide their true thoughts. The Vox were easier to read than many humans. They thought she was simple. "Yes, just me for now," she said calmly. For the next 2 hours, the Vox talked constantly. They explained their galactic union of 23 species. They described faster-than-light travel. They mentioned trade agreements and cultural exchange. Han mostly listened, asking a few clear questions when needed. She noticed how the Vox would simplify their answers for her, as if speaking to a child. When Trill explained their communication style again, he said, "True intelligence requires many streams of thought at once. We find it interesting that humans developed so far with such basic communication." Han heard the hidden meaning. The Vox thought humans were primitive. She could correct them. Explain how human silence often held deeper meaning than noise, how careful thinking before speaking showed wisdom, not slowness. Instead, she simply nodded. "Let them think what they want," she decided. "Let them underestimate us." As the meeting ended, the Vox continued their constant chatter among themselves. Their skin flashed with green and purple patterns that showed their confidence. "We look forward to further discussions," Trill said. "We have much to teach your species." Han smiled politely. "We are eager to learn." Walking back to her office, Han thought about what she had seen. The Vox were advanced, yes, but their weakness was clear. They had judged her, judged all of humanity, by their silence. That was a mistake, and Han would make sure they learned just how big a mistake it was. The news spread quickly, faster than light, faster than sound, faster than any communication had ever moved before. Eun-G Park was no longer just a junior analyst. She was now a hero, but she didn't feel like one. Heroes, in her mind, made loud speeches. They stood on stages. They waved flags. She had done something different. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The Galactic Confederation, once so sure of its power, now looked at humans differently. They realized that silence could be more powerful than noise, that watching could be more important than speaking. That understanding was the real key to communication. Jae-sung helped Yoon-ji write reports. They worked long hours in a small office with white walls and too much coffee. Outside, the world was changing. Alien ships that once looked threatening now seemed more curious, more careful. Diplomatic meetings became different. Instead of loud arguments, there were now long moments of quiet, careful observation, deep listening. Yoon-ji discovered that her method of communication had opened something important. It wasn't just about sending messages. It was about creating connections, understanding that every species, no matter how different, had something valuable to say. The Confederation leaders invited her to more meetings. They wanted to learn. They asked questions. How did she do it? What did she see that others missed? She would smile. A small smile. Just a tiny movement of her lips. Everything, she would say. I saw everything. Her neural implant became famous. Scientists from different planets wanted to study it. They came from worlds with purple skies and 3 suns. They came from places humans had never imagined. All wanted to understand how she had done what she did. Jae-sung watched her become something more than just a person. She became a symbol, a quiet symbol of human potential. The conspiracy they had uncovered changed everything. The plan to push humans to the side of the galactic community was completely destroyed. Now, humans were seen as something special, something unique. One day, a high-ranking alien diplomat visited their small office. Its body was like moving glass, always changing shape. It looked at Yoon-ji with what seemed like respect. "You have shown us something important," it said. "Silence is not empty. Silence is full of possibility." Yoon-ji nodded, just a small nod. The world outside continued to change. Humans started to learn new ways of talking, new ways of listening. They began to understand that communication was not just about words. It was about understanding. In universities, in research centers, in diplomatic training programs, people studied her work. They tried to learn her methods. But true understanding, they discovered, was not something you could simply learn from a book. Jae-sung wrote a book about her discovery. The Quiet Revolution, he called it. It became a bestseller across multiple planets. And Yoon-ji, she continued to work, quietly, carefully, always watching, always understanding. The universe had underestimated humanity, but not anymore. Silence, they learned, could be the loudest sound of all. The day of the treaty signing arrived. The ceremony would take place on the Vox main ship, high above Earth. Han wore a simple blue suit, her hair pulled back neatly. In her pocket was Dae's small device, hidden in what looked like a ceremonial pen. Remember, Da had told her that morning, press the button once you're on the bridge of their ship. It needs to be as close as possible to their main communication systems. Jae stood beside Han as they waited for the Vox shuttle to take them up. His face was tight with worry. "I should go with you," he said. Han shook her head. "No, your place is here, coordinating with Commander Kwon. If something goes wrong, you'll need to lead Phase 3. Before Jae could argue, the Vox shuttle landed. 2 Vox guards stepped out, their skin flashing with colors of importance. "Representative Han," one said, "Ambassador Trill awaits your arrival for this historic moment." Han nodded and stepped forward. She did not look back as she entered the shuttle. Her face showed nothing, but her mind was focused on every detail of the plan. The ride to the Vox ship took only minutes. Through the window, Han could see Earth below, beautiful and blue. She thought of all the people counting on her, all the nations that had put aside their differences to work together against this threat. The shuttle docked with the main Vox ship. Han was led through gleaming corridors to a large round room. Ambassador Trill stood in the center, his purple skin flashing with patterns of triumph. "Welcome, Representative Han," he said. "Today marks a new chapter for both our peoples." Han noticed that many Vox officials were present. At least 30 of them lined the walls, all talking and flashing colors at once. The noise was overwhelming. In the corner, Chirp stood quietly. His colors were muted, and he did not join in the excited chatter of the others. Han caught his eye for a brief moment. "We are ready to sign the treaty," Trill said, gesturing to a small table where the document lay. "Your simple adjustments have been included, though they change nothing of importance." Han stepped forward, her face showing the same polite, slightly confused expression she had worn for weeks. She reached into her pocket and took out the special pen. "On Earth, we have a tradition," she said softly. "Important documents are signed with special instruments. May I use this pen, passed down in my family?" Trill's skin flashed with amusement. "Your primitive customs are of no concern to us. Use whatever tool you wish." Han moved toward the table. The treaty lay open, waiting for her signature. She raised the pen. Then, instead of signing, she pressed the hidden button. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, all sound in the room stopped. A constant hum of the ship, the clicking and whistling of the Vox, all fell silent. The effect on the Vox was immediate and dramatic. Their skin patterns froze. Their 4 arms began to wave frantically. Some clutched at their communication devices, trying to make them work again. Trill's colors drained to a pale gray. What is happening?" he gasped. "I cannot hear the networks. The ship is silent." Han straightened up. For the first time, she let her true intelligence show in her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong, not the hesitant tone she had used before. "Now you understand what silence truly means," she said. "It is not emptiness. It is not weakness. It is the space in which power gathers." Frill staggered backward. "What have you done?" "What you forced us to do," Han replied. "While you were busy talking, humans were busy listening and planning." At that moment, alarms began to flash on the bridge screens. A Vox operator tried to report, but without their communication network, coordination was impossible. On one screen, Han could see Min's 3 ships speeding toward the moon. On another, Earth's defense systems came online, aiming at the Vox fleet. The silent strike had begun, and for the first time since they arrived, the Vox had nothing to say. The emergency meeting lasted all night. Leaders from every country on Earth joined either in person or through secure video calls. Han stood before them, calm yet firm. "The Vox are not our friends," she said. "They plan to take Earth by force if we don't give them what they want through the treaty." Images of the moon base filled the screens around the room. Commander Quan pointed to the weapons systems clearly visible. "These are not for defense," he said. "They are attack weapons aimed at Earth." "What do we do now?" asked the President of the United States. "Their ships have technology far beyond ours. We can't fight them directly." "We don't have to," Han said. She nodded to Dai, who stood up. Dai held up the small metal device he had built. "This can shut down their communication systems. Without their constant chatter, the Vox become confused and scared. They can't think clearly in silence." "But how do we use it?" asked another leader. "We can't reach their ships." Han's face showed no emotion, but her eyes were determined. "I will continue with the treaty meetings. I will act as if nothing has changed, as if we still don't know about the moon base." "But they know we've seen it," G protested. "I told them." "Yes, but Ambassador Trill wants the treaty too badly. He will pretend it didn't happen. He will come back to the table." Han turned to a quiet man sitting in a corner. He had not spoken all night. "Min," she said, "you have been working on our own ships. Are they ready?" Min nodded slowly. He was a brilliant engineer who rarely used words when actions would do. 3 ships, small but fast, can reach the moon in 2 hours. "Good," Han said. We need to destroy their base before they can use those weapons. And what about their fleet in orbit? Commander Quan asked. That's where Day's device comes in, Han explained. I will get it onto their main ship during the treaty signing ceremony. The room grew quiet as people realized what she was suggesting. You would put yourself in danger? Ji asked, his voice soft with worry. Han didn't answer directly. Instead, she addressed the room. All my life, people have misunderstood my silence. They thought I was slow or weak or had nothing to say. The Vox made the same mistake. Now we use their mistake against them. The next morning, Han sent a message to the Vox as if nothing had happened. She apologized for Ji's outburst and suggested they continue the treaty discussions. To everyone's surprise except Han's, Trill agreed. The signing ceremony was set for 2 days later. While Han prepared to meet the Vox one last time, Earth's forces moved in secret. Min's 3 ships were hidden in a remote base, ready to launch toward the moon. Dai made final adjustments to his device, making it smaller so Han could hide it easily. On the night before the ceremony, Ji found Han sitting alone in her office. Aren't you scared? He asked. Fear doesn't help us now, she replied, looking out at the stars. The Vox think they know everything about humans. They think we are simple, that we speak without thinking, that we can be easily controlled. She turned to face Ji. But they never truly watched us. They never saw what humans can do when we work together, when we have a purpose. What if the plan fails? Ji asked. Han was quiet for a moment. Then she said, in my years as a diplomat, I learned that words matter less than actions. Tomorrow, we act. Across the world, soldiers moved into position. Scientists monitored the Vox ships. Min's pilots prepared for their secret mission to the moon. And in space, unaware of what was coming, the Vox continued their constant chatter, their skin flashing with colors of triumph. They thought tomorrow would mark their victory over the simple, quiet humans. They had no idea that Han's silence had been hiding a storm that was about to break over them with terrible force. The large conference room fell silent. Yunji stood at the center, her small frame looking fragile against the massive holographic displays and towering alien delegates. Jae-sum watched from the side, his hands gripping the edge of a chair so tightly his knuckles turned white. The Galactic Confederation representatives looked down at her. Their bodies were strange, part crystal, part liquid, constantly shifting like living sculptures. They believed humans were simple creatures, loud, messy, predictable. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Yun-jae activated her communication device. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The alien delegates exchanged confused looks. Some even chuckled, a sound like breaking glass. Then something extraordinary began. The holographic screens around the room started to change. Patterns emerged, complex, beautiful, and impossibly intricate. These were not just images. They were communications far beyond what any known species had ever produced. Each pattern contained multiple layers of meaning. Some communicated scientific data. Others told stories. Some carried emotional content so deep and nuanced that they defied simple translation. The patterns shifted and changed, creating a living language that was both a message and a work of art. The alien delegates stopped laughing. Jae-sum watched in amazement. He knew Yun-ji was brilliant, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. She had spent months studying, analyzing, and understanding communication in ways no one else had ever considered. Her communication was a weapon, but not a weapon of destruction. It was a weapon of understanding. The patterns continued. They showed the history of humanity, not through words, but through complex emotional and intellectual landscapes. They revealed human resilience, creativity, and adaptability. They demonstrated how humans could learn, grow, and change in ways that most species could not. One crystal delegate leaned forward. Its body began to tremble. Another delegate whispered something in its native language. The translation device caught only fragments. Impossible. How could they? We didn't know. Eun-ji remained calm. Her eyes were focused, her breathing steady. She knew exactly what she was doing. The communication continued for what seemed like hours, but was actually just 17 minutes. When it finished, the room was completely silent. The head of the Galactic Confederation delegation slowly stood up. Its movements were careful, almost respectful. "We underestimated your species," it said, its voice a mix of electronic sounds and liquid ripples. "We thought we knew everything about communication. We were wrong." Jae-sung couldn't help but smile. Eun-ji, however, remained unchanged. She had done what she came to do. Outside the conference room, the universe seemed to pause. Something fundamental had changed. Humanity was no longer just another species to be overlooked or dismissed. They had just shown that they were something else entirely. Eun-ji took a small breath. Her job was done, but something told her this was just the beginning. The second meeting with the Vox took place 1 week later. This time, Han brought her assistant Ji with her. Ji was young and smart, but he was also quick to speak his mind. Han knew this could be both helpful and dangerous. "Remember," Han told Ji as they walked to the meeting dome, "we watch and learn first. The Vox think we are simple. Let them keep thinking that." Ji frowned. "But they look down on us. I've seen the reports. They call humans single-channel thinkers behind our backs." Han stopped walking and turned to Ji. "Sometimes, being underestimated is the greatest advantage." Inside the dome, 3 Vox waited. Ambassador Trill stood in front, his purple skin flashing with bright patterns. 2 other Vox stood behind him, their 4 arms moving in constant motion. "Greetings again, Representative Han," said Trill. His main voice sounded friendly, but Han noticed the low humming sounds he made at the same time. The translators didn't pick those up. "We see you've brought another human. How helpful for you?" "This is Ji, my assistant," Han said simply. Trill's skin flashed yellow. "Can he speak for himself?" The Vox chuckled, making clicking sounds among themselves. Ji stepped forward. "I can speak just fine," he said, his voice tight with anger. Han gave Ji a warning look. She knew the Vox were testing them. "Please, sit," Trill said. "We have prepared a presentation about our technology. We'll try to make it simple enough." For the next hour, the Vox showed images of their ships, their cities, and their weapons. They used small words and spoke slowly. It was clear they thought humans couldn't understand complex ideas. Ji's face grew red with anger. Han remained calm, asking basic questions that made the Vox believe she barely understood what they showed her. "So this ship can travel faster than light?" Han asked, pointing to an image. "How amazing." "Yes," said Trill, his skin flashing blue patterns of amusement. "The science would be too difficult to explain to humans. Just know that we can cross the stars in days, not years." Han nodded as if impressed. But her mind was working quickly, noticing details in the ship designs that the Vox didn't think she would see. During a break, Ji pulled Han aside. "They think we're stupid," he whispered. "Why are you acting like you don't understand?" "I understand everything," Han said quietly. "But they don't need to know that. While they talk down to us, they reveal more than they mean to. But listen, Ji. I've seen the way their ships are designed. I've noticed gaps in their story. They claim to have 23 species in their union, but they've only mentioned 15. Why hide the others? What are they not telling us?" Ji's eyes widened. "You caught all that while acting confused." Han nodded. "Let them believe what they want. Watch, learn, and wait." When the meeting resumed, Trill presented a data tablet to Han. "This contains information about a treaty between Earth and the Vox Collective. A simple friendship agreement. Nothing complicated." Han took the tablet and pretended to struggle with understanding it. "There are many words here," she said, looking confused. May I take this to study? Trill's skin flashed with patterns that looked like laughter. Of course. Take all the time you need to. Process it. As they left the dome, G whispered, "They're planning something, aren't they?" Han didn't answer right away. She looked back at the Vox, who were still making clicking sounds and flashing colors at each other. They thought humans couldn't understand their private conversation. They were wrong. "Yes," Han finally said. "They want something from Earth. Something important. And they think we're too simple to stop them from taking it." Jai looked worried. "What will we do?" Han's face showed no emotion, but her eyes were sharp and clear. "We'll let them keep thinking that. For now." That night, Han didn't sleep. She read every word of the treaty. Hidden in the complex language were plans that would give the Vox control over Earth's resources. They thought no human would understand the true meaning. Han smiled to herself in the darkness. The Vox had no idea what was coming. 2 weeks had passed since the first treaty meeting. Han now met with the Vox every day. Each time, she played her role perfectly. She would tilt her head in confusion, speak slowly, and ask simple questions. And each time, the Vox grew more sure that humans were no threat to their plans. "I think I understand Section 43 now," Han said during today's meeting. She pointed to the part about Vox ships having free access to Earth's orbit. "But why do your ships need to carry so many? What did you call them?" "Defense systems." Ambassador Trill's skin flashed with purple patterns. "Just standard equipment. Nothing for your people to worry about." Han nodded, as if accepting this answer. "Of course. And these defense systems, do they include the light beam weapons I saw in your presentation?" Trill paused, his colors shifting slightly. "Yes, but those are only for protection against space debris." "I see," Han said quietly. "Space must be very dangerous." Back on Earth, Han's team worked tirelessly. Each bit of information she gathered went straight to them. Dai studied the Vox technology. Sun analyzed their language patterns. Commander Quan prepared Earth's defenses in secret. "They've revealed so much," Quan said during their nightly meeting. "They think you're just asking innocent questions, but you've mapped their entire weapons system." Han nodded. "They believe I can't connect the dots. Each day, they show me more, thinking I don't understand what I'm seeing." Jai, who attended all the meetings with Han, shook his head in amazement. "They still think we're primitive." Yesterday, Trill was explaining their communication system to Han like she was a child, but she got him to reveal their entire network structure. Day looked up from his computer. "That's how we'll beat them if we have to. Their ships, their suits, everything depends on their complex communication systems. If we could disrupt that." "Can you build something that would do that?" Han asked. Day thought for a moment. "Maybe, but I'd need more details about how their systems work." Han smiled slightly. "Then that's what I'll get tomorrow." The next day, Han arrived at the meeting with a new strategy. She brought a small gift, a simple clay pot made by a local artist. "On Earth, we give gifts to new friends," she told Trill, offering the pot. "It's not much, just something handmade." Trill took the pot, his skin flashing with amusement. "How quaint. We Vox exchange knowledge, not objects. But I accept your primitive offering." Han lowered her eyes. "Perhaps you could share some knowledge with me then. I am curious about how your people talk to each other across space. Our technology is so simple compared to yours." Trill, pleased by Han's admission of human inferiority, began to explain. He described their quantum communication network, how it allowed instant messaging across any distance. He explained their multi-channel systems, thinking Han couldn't possibly understand the science. But Han understood everything. And unknown to Trill, the clay pot she had given him contained a tiny device created by Da. It recorded every word, every detail. "So fascinating," Han said when Trill finished. "Though much of it is beyond my understanding." "Of course it is," Trill said, his skin flashing with smugness. "Your species has much to learn." That night, Day reviewed the recording. His eyes grew wide as he understood what he was hearing. "This is it," he told Han. "With this information, I can build a device that could disrupt their entire communication network. It would leave them completely helpless." "How long would it take?" Commander Quan asked. "A week, maybe less," Dai said. "But we'd need to get it close to their main ship to work." Han thought for a moment. "Leave that to me. Keep working on the treaty negotiations. Let them think we're close to signing." As Han left the meeting, Ji followed her. "You're amazing," he said. "The way you play them, getting exactly what we need while they think you're just a simple-minded human." Han stopped walking and looked at Ji. "Remember this, Ji. True power often lies in being underestimated. The Vox think our silence means weakness. Soon, they will learn just how wrong they are." In the sky above, the Vox ships continued to gather. They had no idea what was coming. Their mistake was almost complete. 3 days after receiving the treaty, Han called a secret meeting. The room was deep underground, safe from any Vox listening devices. Around a large table sat Earth's best minds: Dad the physicist, Sun the linguist, and several government leaders. "The treaty is a trap," Han said, placing the data tablet on the table. "The Vox want to take control of Earth slowly, so we don't notice until it's too late." Sun, who had spent days studying the Vox language, nodded. "Look at Section 12. It seems to be about cultural exchange, but the real meaning is hidden in the wording. They want permission to build bases all over Earth." "And Section 29, added Da, pointing to the screen. "It looks like a trade agreement, but it would give them rights to mine our resources without limits." The room grew quiet as everyone understood what this meant. "They think we're too simple to catch these tricks," Han said. "This is both dangerous and useful." General Quan, the head of Earth's defense, frowned. "Why not just tell them no? Show them we know what they're doing." Han shook her head. "If we reveal that we understand their plan, they might use force instead. Their ships have powerful weapons. We need time to prepare." "So what do we do?" asked Ji, who sat next to Han. "We play their game," Han said. "I'll act confused about the treaty. I'll ask for changes that seem small, but will actually protect us. They'll think I'm just struggling to understand. But really, we'll be gathering information and buying time." The next day, Han met with Ambassador Trill again. She brought the treaty with her, marked with notes that looked like simple questions. "I have tried to understand your treaty," Han said, keeping her voice unsure. "But some parts are confusing to me." Trill's skin flashed with blue and green patterns of amusement. "We can explain any parts that are too complex for human understanding." Section 12, Han said slowly. "About cultural centers. Could we change it to limit the number to 5? Just so we can start small." Trill made a clicking sound that the translators didn't catch. It sounded like laughter. "Of course," he said. "Such a small change doesn't matter to us." Han knew the truth. By limiting the Vox to 5 bases, Earth could better watch what they were doing. It was a small victory, hidden behind a mask of confusion. For 2 hours, Han went through the treaty. Each time, she asked for small changes that seemed unimportant. Each time, the Vox agreed, thinking they were dealing with someone who couldn't see the big picture. "You're doing well, for a human," Trill said at the end of the meeting. "But there are many more sections to discuss. Perhaps your simple mind needs to rest." Han lowered her eyes. "Yes, it is much to process. Thank you for your patience." As she left the meeting dome, Han saw a younger Vox named Chirp watching her. Unlike the others, his skin patterns showed not mockery, but curiosity. He seemed different somehow. Han noted this in her mind. It might be important later. Back in her office, Ji was waiting. "How did it go? Did they suspect anything?" "No," Han said. "They still think I'm struggling to understand their complex treaty." She smiled slightly. "Meanwhile, I learned something new today." "What's that?" "The Vox ships use a special kind of energy, Day needs to know this. It might help us find a way to defend ourselves if things go wrong. Jai looked worried. Do you think it will come to that? To fighting? Han looked out the window at the Vox ship hanging in the sky above Earth. It looked peaceful, but she knew better. I hope not, she said quietly. But we must be ready for anything. She turned to Jai. Contact Da and Sun. Tell them to meet us tonight. We have much work to do. As night fell over the city, the Vox continued their meetings among themselves, confident that the humans had no idea what was really happening. They had no idea that Han was already 3 steps ahead of them, quietly preparing Earth's defense while maintaining her facade of simple confusion. The game had only just begun. 1 month after first contact, Earth's leaders gathered for an important update. Han stood at the front of the room, her face calm as always. The treaty is almost complete, she said. The Vox believe we are accepting their terms, with only small changes that they think don't matter. But those small changes protect us, added Sun, the linguist. Han has rewritten key sections without them realizing it. Commander Quan looked worried. Our satellites have spotted more Vox ships arriving. There are now 20 of them in orbit. Why so many for a peaceful agreement? Han nodded. They are preparing for something. We need more time. She turned to Da. How is the device coming? It's ready, Da said, showing a small metal box on the table. This can shut down all Vox communications within a 10-mile radius, but we need to get it onto their main ship somehow. Before anyone could respond, Jib burst into the room. His face was red, and he was breathing hard. Han, you need to see this. Now. Everyone followed Ji to the monitoring room. On the large screen was a live feed from a space telescope pointed at Earth's moon. We just found this, Ji said. They've been hiding it from us. The image showed the far side of the moon. There, hidden from Earth's view, was a large Vox base. Ships moved back and forth, and strange machines dug into the moon's surface. They're mining, Dai said, his voice tight with anger. Taking resources without permission. And look, those aren't just mining tools. Those are weapons. The room fell silent. This changed everything. They've been lying all along, Commander Quan said, planning to attack us even while talking about peace. Han studied the image, her mind working quickly. We need to find out more. I'll confront them, but carefully. We can't let them know we've seen this yet. That afternoon, Han and Ji met with the Vox again. This time, the younger Vox named Chirp was present along with Ambassador Trill. Han noticed that Chirp seemed nervous, his skin patterns shifting quickly. We are nearly ready to sign the treaty, Trill said, his main voice smooth and confident. Just a few more details to discuss. Han nodded, playing her usual role. Yes, we are eager to finalize our friendship. But I had a question about Section 57, about space exploration. What about it? Trill asked. It mentions Vox ships having access to all parts of our solar system. Does that include our moon? Chirp's skin suddenly flashed with patterns of alarm. Trill shot him a warning look. Of course, Trill said carefully. For scientific study only. I see, Han said. And have your people already begun such studies? We have done some preliminary scans. Trill said. Nothing important. Chirp made a strange sound, almost like a cough. His colors kept changing rapidly. Is something wrong? Han asked, looking at Chirp. No, nothing, Trill said quickly. But Chirp stepped forward. I cannot continue this deception, Chirp said suddenly. Ambassador, we should tell them the truth. It's not right, Toe. Silence. Trill snapped, his skin turning deep red. You forget your place. But it was too late. Ji jumped to his feet. You've built a base on our moon, Ji shouted. We've seen it. You're planning to attack us. The room erupted in chaos. Trill's skin flashed with angry colors. Chirp backed away, looking afraid. Han remained seated, watching everything carefully. "This meeting is over," Trill said coldly. "We will continue tomorrow when humans are calmer." After the Vox left, G turned to Han, his face flushed with anger. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything." But when Chirp started to confess, "It's done now," Han said quietly. "But this changes our timeline. The Vox know we've discovered their secret. They will move faster now." Han looked out the window at the Vox ships hovering in the sky. The game of pretend was over. Now, real action was needed. "Contact everyone," she told G. "Tell them it's time for Phase 2. Tonight, we stop being silent." As darkness fell, Han knew the real battle was about to begin. Everything had led to this moment. The Vox had misunderstood her silence for too long. That was about to change.